You ever have that feeling? You're waiting for a clear sign, some kind of answer, and all you're getting is, well, nothing. Silence. It's a feeling we all know. But imagine if that wasn't just a personal crisis. Imagine if it was a crisis for your entire people. So let's get into it. What happens when God, the ultimate source of truth, just seems to stop talking? The answer, it turns out, is in the invention of a single, incredibly powerful idea: mystery. When I say the word mystery, what pops into your head? For most of us, it's probably something kind of foggy, confusing, something we can't really wrap our minds around. The novelist E.M. Forster totally nailed our modern view of it when he called it just a high-sounding term for a muddle. And that's where we're starting. But here's the twist. What if we've got it all wrong? What if, way back when, a mystery wasn't a problem to be confused by, but a secret? A secret that was just waiting to be told. This is the pivot that really changes the whole game. All right, so to really get this, we've got to be super clear about what we're talking about. Let's draw a line in the sand between what we think of as a mystery and what it meant to these folks in the ancient world. And wow, the difference is night and day. On one side, you have our modern take. Mystery is a muddle, it's confusion. But the ancient view, it was so precise. A mystery was a secret, sure, but it was a secret that had a key. It was a hidden truth that came from God, something he could and would choose to reveal. It wasn't a muddle at all. It was a disclosure waiting to happen. So you have to ask, right? Why did this whole idea of revealed secrets become so important? Where did it come from? Well, like a lot of brilliant ideas, it wasn't born from a place of comfort. It was born from a major crisis, a deep kind of scary spiritual silence. Okay, so let's set the stage. We need to go back to ancient Israel after the Babylonian exile. For centuries, they had what you could call a direct line to God. You had prophets, guys like Isaiah and Jeremiah, who spoke God's word right to the people. But around this time, that line started going dead. The great prophets were just gone. And man, you can just feel the despair in this verse from the Psalms. It just captures that feeling perfectly. Imagine a world where you used to get these direct messages, and now, nothing. Just radio silence. It had to feel like total abandonment. And this wasn't just a practical problem, what do we do now? This was a full-blown theological crisis. It's what scholars call the problem of divine hiddenness. I mean, if God goes quiet, how in the world do you know what his will is? How do you make any decisions? How do you keep your faith when the heavens just aren't talking back? So, what was the solution? Well, faced with this silence, the Jewish people didn't just give up. Instead, they made this absolutely revolutionary pivot, and it completely changed where they looked for God's voice. The shift was just fundamental. I mean, think about it. They went from an age of listening for a living, speaking prophet, to an age of intensely studying a written text they already had. The source of revelation moved from a person to a book, and that book was the Torah, their sacred law. This move totally transformed the scriptures. They weren't just a history book or some dusty old set of laws anymore. No way. They became the living, breathing, active channel for understanding God's will for the here and now. The answers, they figured, had to be in there somewhere. But that just brings up a whole new question, doesn't it? If God's plan for today is locked inside this ancient text, how on earth do you get it out? This is where that new idea of mystery became the key. So this new way of thinking started to bubble up. What if God hadn't actually gone silent? What if he was just speaking in code? The scriptures, which looked pretty straightforward on the surface, were now believed to have these hidden layers of meaning, these divine secrets about God's plan for all of history. And if you could access those secrets, it was like getting an insider's look at how the universe really worked. This one verse basically became the prayer, the mission statement, for this whole new way of finding revelation. It's not a prayer for a new prophecy to come down from the sky. It's a prayer for the insight to see the wonderful things, the hidden mysteries that are already there, embedded in the text. It's a plea for God to pull back the curtain on what's already been written. And the method for doing this, for unlocking these secrets, it has a name: exegesis. And this wasn't just casual reading. Oh no. This was a disciplined, prayerful, super intense process of interpretation. The person studying the text, the sage, wasn't just a scholar. They were a seeker, waiting for God to reveal that secret meaning, to solve that divine mystery. And this solution, this idea that truth isn't always shouted from the rooftops, but can be hidden in plain sight, just waiting to be revealed, well, it wasn't just a temporary fix. It became one of the most influential ideas in Western religious history. For real. This whole framework, this entire idea that was developed inside ancient Judaism to solve the problem of divine silence, was picked up and carried forward directly by the earliest Christians. They used the very same concept to make sense of their own new reality. And you can see that connection perfectly right here. When the Apostle Paul wants to explain the huge significance of Jesus, he reaches for this exact language. For Paul, Christ is the ultimate divine mystery, the secret plan of God, hidden for all of history, but now finally revealed and made manifest for everyone to see. It's the same theological DNA. So let's boil it all down. What's the big takeaway here? First, mystery didn't start as a muddle, it started as a revealable secret. Second, this whole idea was a brilliant solution to a major crisis, the end of prophecy. Third, it caused this huge shift in focus from listening to prophets to interpreting texts. And finally, this one innovation created a new, lasting way for people to feel connected to God, even when he seemed distant and silent. And that kind of leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? If the answer back then to a silent heaven was to learn how to read deeper, what's the answer for us in a world that never ever stops shouting? Maybe our biggest challenge isn't about finding more information, but about finding the right keys to unlock the meaning that's already hidden right in front of us.